Hi, and welcome to the Thinking Out Loud podcast. My name is Jendrek,
My name is Masha.
and we are
We
two
are two English
teachers.
teachers. Doing what?
Right. Wow, doing what? I figure out a nice, slogan for this podcast. It's a podcast for the people who know English but are afraid to use it. Isn't that
Exactly.
great?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Great. Today is another special episode. Do we actually have any regular episodes, Masha, anymore?
Not anymore. All episodes are special.
Right. So I'm not going to prolong that. I'm going to say hi to Kris. Hi, Kris.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
I'd like to kind of let you, I know it's maybe impolite, but I'd like to let you introduce yourself. Who are you and how come you are here on this podcast?
The Thinking Out Loud. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like to think out loud. I like to remove barriers between the thought process and the speech process, right? To make it happen faster. So I think it's a good name. Why am I here? So one of the companies that I have is the English with Kris Amerikos language school, which is an online school that offers unlimited speaking practice. Students join one time, pay one time per month, and they can join all of the lessons. We currently have about 200 lessons every month, and
I love the model,
Yeah, we keep growing that. So yeah, that's pretty much why I'm here, and I just like to share that opportunity with everybody. But also, I am an English teacher. I've been teaching since 2008, and I'm also a marketer. So I help online businesses, especially education businesses, grow, sell courses, sell membership programs, and things like that.
All right. You got in touch with us after listening to the episode with Hugh Deller.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of Hugh Deller?
Yeah, I've been in touch with Hugh Deller for a while, and I had an interview with him a couple years ago, which is on our website. And so yeah, I've been seeing the transformation that he's gone through recently, and it's always interesting to see how people change and grow. So it was a pleasure to listen to the podcast, and you guys are great hosts, and so that's why I wanted to be here. Definitely.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot for that, for your kind words. I would just like to, before we get down to the thinking out loud proper,
okay,
I would just like to remind you and everybody that it's a podcast for English learners. So Kris, try to, I don't know, slow down, or because each time we have a native speaker, there's I hear complaints that it was very difficult to understand, and so on. So
okay. Well, I'll use my teacher voice.
Yeah, use your teacher voice, exactly. And what else? This podcast has its website. No, sorry, it doesn't. But we as teachers, we have our website. It's studiomentals.com. And on top of that, I always kind of, naively, but still remind you about the possibility to leave us a voice message. There's a link in the
At
description.
least a comment, Is it possible to leave a comment? Is it technically possible?
I mean, you could comment on Spotify, I guess, but I'm not sure if there's like you mean like a text comment?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
some people are afraid to speak, but
okay. So in that case, well, you can always email us.
Or they can comment your posts on Instagram, your great posts where
right.
you're having lots of fun with filters and
right. But anyway, so I just want to remind about this possibility to leave a voice message. We're gonna play this on the next episode, and there's also a possibility to support this podcast, make it grow, and turn into whatever, maybe more professional. Masha, how about that? How about we had some professional jingles, I know, some music, some kind of background music.
So if people bought you 10 coffees, you would do that?
I would do that.
Okay,
so,
guys, 10 coffees is what it takes.
All right. You can support. Yeah, you can support us and help us get more professional by buying us a virtual coffee. The link
is in the description somewhere.
All right. Fine. Okay. So having this behind us, let's Masha, you wanted to talk about some teachery stuff, as far as I know, in the small talk section.
Yeah, because Kris is a teacher. Yeah, well, at least you used to be, right?
Yeah.
No, he still is, I guess. You're still,
are you still teaching?
Right? Well, you can put me to the test right now and we can find out, right?
Okay, so how do you personally believe languages are learned?
How do I believe languages are learned?
Yeah. Well, because, there are many theories.
Yeah. Well, I think we first have to separate this discussion into first language and second, third, fourth.
Second.
Right? Okay, so we're just talking about second language. So then we need to also think about if we're talking about children or adults, right?
Adults.
So, okay, we're talking about second language for adults. Great. So how is a second language learned by adults? I think that there are like we can kind of separate into three methods that intuitively people use, right? So there's immersion. So they're in a place, it's around them, they have to adapt. There's like
survival, basically.
Yeah. That's my favorite.
Okay.
Just go to the place and be shocked and overwhelmed, and in a few days you'll want to learn.
Either die or you'll get better.
I could question that, I could question that because I'm an example of it. I came to France with close to nothing in terms of French,
but you have English.
And yeah, I mean, of course, I developed my French and everything, but it's still, I mean, it's far from perfect. And I just, I learned to swim to not to drown, basically. But I stopped, at a certain point because it's enough. I communicate. I'm able to pick up the phone or call or survive, basically.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be honest with you.
Maybe this immersion, is very difficult to reach today, to find, because I know that I personally teach a couple of people who live in either Canada or US, and it's kind of, why do you even need a teacher? You're in a country where English is all around you, but they manage to function without, even saying a word to anybody. How is it?
So right, this is just one of the, I would say there's like three main intuitive methods that people naturally use, right? So immersion would be one of them. And to comment on what you said, like that's how I learned how to swim too, but I'm not an Olympic swimmer. I'll never be perfect at swimming. So like, everybody's just trying to find the way to move so that they can just stay on top of the water, right? So like you found the point where it's enough for you, like you said, you can get in the water. You're not going to drown, but it doesn't mean that you can do flips and go fast and do all of this other stuff, right? So, but so the second method I'd say is imitation or like modeling, right? So I've met a lot of people who use this. They watch TV shows, they listen to podcasts, they listen to music, and then they try to repeat that. And so they find an example to copy. And so maybe they're not immersed completely 100% in the environment, but they are able to immerse themselves in some aspect of language and do that. And then the third way, I think, is instruction, like a book, a teacher. And most people will do that because that's traditional and it has the most structure because someone else is holding you accountable, right? So I think those are the three ways that adults usually use to, like, some mix of those things is the natural way that most people learn a second language.
All right. There are no shortcuts.
I think the immersion aspect is a shortcut. I think that there is a shortcut for all of them, which is called motivation. And once you gain enough motivation, you will find all of those opportunities that are naturally around you. You'll start to use them, right?
Yeah.
So you're just not motivated enough,
I'm not, but I told you though, because I survived. And
Yeah.
it's like, if I could compare it to my academic performance, once I get the passing mark, it's okay for me,
Yeah,
It's like, what's the point of having straight A's if B or C gets you through? I mean, come on.
that's a good point.
It's a
Like,
waste of energy.
a lot of people do treat language as just a strictly academic topic or subject, right? And so there is that approach. Like, I learned it, now I know it, but that's not really how language works. It's like, it's the spectrum, and it's up and down, and you forget stuff. And like, honestly, I haven't talked to someone in Russian like for an hour or more for a very long time, and so I'm forgetting all kinds of stuff. And even your first language moves like that too. Like, when I lived in Russia and I was speaking, Russian 12 hours a day or whatever, then I started to use less creative, advanced English words. And I do less of that stuff that native speakers do that's confusing, because it didn't help
Try and
me be
simplify it, yeah.
understood by the people around me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
All
All right,
right.
great. Masha, there you go. There's your answer. There are no secret methods,
Or
to
proven
overcome.
recipe, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how languages are learned. Fine.
yeah, but about immersion, I think that you can find opportunities to immerse yourself in language without having to go to the place. And being in the place, you can avoid being immersed. You can do both of them. And so like, being in the physical place is only one piece of immersion, I think, right?
Sure.
Like, if you can, that's why in our speaking program, we have speaking practice constantly every day. So anytime they want, they can just click and boom, you're in the English speaking environment, right? Even though that's virtually. It's
I
a
would
different
venture
story.
to say that with the internet and everything, you don't even need to move to a foreign speaking country. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, or you can move, but basically live immersed in your own language, right? Then use Google Translate or something and get through whatever you need to go through.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's the paradox of technology, that it makes what traveling and everything disposable, right? Because you can do everything sitting at home.
Yeah, and I think that technology in education plays a really big role, and it's really important for people to understand what role that plays today, because what it really highlights is that it is the separation of the result of of language learning and the process of language learning, and how the process has been has been made to be this long, difficult thing in education, but the result is that we just want people to understand us. And so using technology today with artificial intelligence and all of the new things that are coming out, you can just write something very simple and tell technology to produce the words for you, and someone can understand you. So it's much easier for you to use basic knowledge of language to be understood than it was previously. And so that means that it's easier for the real purpose of language to be understood. It's easier for people to access that now. And so I think it really shows this separation of using language to be understood and using language to be correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's very interesting when you think about it. Would you say that that's my let's say extra question in this small talk?
Yeah.
But would you say that tech will shift the emphasis in language teaching from grammar to meaning? Because grammar will suddenly be like more a correctness will play secondary role to what is actually being communicated, to the content.
That's a really good question. And yeah, I think I agree with you. I think also, like, purpose and context, like, not just the word and what it means, but when do you say that word and for what reason? Like, what are you trying to get, right? So I think that the language learner today needs to think more about how can I use technology to amplify myself instead of just like it has these limits of grammar, right?
Yeah. I'm of the same opinion. All right, great. Guys, I need to remind everybody here it's a podcast for English learners, and so why don't we actually switch to something totally disconnected from learning and from teaching, from the world of
Everything
education.
is connected to learning and teaching.
Yeah, you're right, Masha.
Oh,
you're right. But I forgot to open my console.
round one.
Sounds. All right, great. Bang. Okay, great. Hi, Ella. I say Ella because I know Ella is laughing right now. Okay, great. Kris, we wanted to ask you a question about the difference. If you could separate for us two concepts.
Okay.
Could you tell us the difference between an enemy and a competitor?
Enemy and competitor. Great.
Yeah. Where's the line?
So competitor takes place within a competition. You have a competitor within a competition. So there's already lines that are drawn that define what the competition is, right? So there can be a winner and there can be a loser. Whereas with an enemy, you don't necessarily have a result of winner loser. You don't necessarily have a competition where there's a goal to win, right? So an enemy is just a person who you believe is against you, or who you think doesn't like you, or you don't like them for some reason. And typically enemy is also associated with the concept of evil. So
yeah,
it's more about good and evil than winner and loser. That's what I'd say.
All right, great. Because when it comes to the competition, you can actually have both could be winners, right? We know that it's like very often on the market we see win-win situations, right? Of course, there's losing too. I mean, come on.
But even when they win, they are both competing to win more than the other person, right?
Yeah. How about two boxers in a ring? Are they enemies or are they competitors? They're hitting each other hard.
They're competitors. They could also be enemies outside the ring.
Could you could you illustrate that like more?
So okay, I think there was a famous fight. Like I don't watch a lot of boxing or fighting, but I remember McGregor and Habib, right? And so like after the fight, there was some like additional fighting that was happening outside of the competition, right? And so we could say that maybe they are enemies. Maybe they don't like each other. Maybe they, really want to do bad stuff to each other and don't like each other. Maybe they're enemies. We don't know unless they say that, right? But they're definitely competitors.
All right, great. As long as they are fighting in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, outside the ring, maybe they're competing over something else.
Yeah, sure. And that's but you keep mentioning these negative emotions, so they're essential for enemies to appear. I mean, they need to hate each other, basically.
Typically, that's what people consider an enemy. Yeah.
But there are cases when you kind of, have respect for your enemy.
There's a phrase like that, yeah, that you should respect your enemy.
No, not should, but we sometimes find these examples when you. I mean, we can even find examples when enemies fall in love.
What?
Yeah. Well, maybe it's only in Hollywood movies. I don't know, but in books.
No, but at least, so come on, like when you have like wait.
Romeo and Juliet, for God's sake.
Or Romeo and Juliet, but they were not enemies. I mean, these two, at least, they are families.
Well, they were supposed to be, because their families were enemies. So you're a part of this family. You were supposed to be enemies with, everybody from another family, no? I thought this is how it works.
Yeah, their families were enemies, but they didn't follow this, right?
Yeah, I guess similar stories happen right now between Israel and Palestine, and in many other places.
Well, I guess
right?
it's a, you know, when we're talking about such thing as a collective enemy, you know, like a country or a family
Mhm.
or I don't know what else.
Exactly.
So you may not, as an individual, you may not feel, you know, these emotions.
Yeah, but then again, you know, this is some kind of a loophole. But if you think about enemies, like enemies, even two people that are enemies, I'm not really sure if they could respect or not to mention love each other, because then, you know, the whole concept of an enemy is gone.
I think when it happens, it actually becomes a competition. You recognize that your adversary is worthy, you know, it's and this in itself, I don't know, because Kris said that, you know, and I even noted that the rules of the game basically are defined. You are within this, so yeah, when you meet, I don't know, an enemy, I wanted to say an opponent, you know, but but I'm using the
Yeah.
word.
Opponent, adversary, there's a lot of words, right? But I think enemy really describes this, like you really feel that the person is evil, the person is against you, you're against them. It's more than just a game.
It's
More than
more than just, again, it's very important because again, you're against the, you know, in sports, I mean, the teams are against each other.
right. So they
It's
are
obvious, but
competitors, are adversaries, or opponents,
yeah,
but they're not necessarily enemies. Yeah.
yeah,
But like
exactly, because
in war, we would always describe the other side as the enemy and never as the
yeah,
competition.
exactly, because I mean, we have these two concepts of competition and war. And when do you think, Kris, a competition turns into a war? Because, you know, if you look at the market, we have price competitions as a natural thing, right?
Mhm.
But sometimes, rarely, but there are sometimes price wars.
Right.
And when do you think the competition turns into a war?
So if we talk about price wars, I think that this is using the word war, you know, as a metaphor. It's not
All right.
really a war where people are dying. So I think that that's maybe different.
But companies are fighting for their survival, for sure. So
Right.
so of course people are not dying, but companies could be
The company could,
dying, you know.
yeah. It's more of like we usually describe it as competition though, right? Like maybe the sales team uses war metaphors to motivate themselves, but it's really competition for market share, competition for sales, for revenue, competition for customers, and
But I was
competition
thinking, you know,
for
if the
attention.
competition becomes so fierce that at one point it turns into war,
If you
where,
look,
you know,
like if we look at the geopolitical scale, right, international relations, then we can say that arms competition between Russia and NATO, we can describe those actions, you know, bringing about a war or lead or influencing it in some way, right? So there is this kind of competition for resources, competition for.
that's a great point. We had this strange period called Cold War.
Exactly.
And was that actually a war, or was it just a competition, right? Because, you know, there was a technological race,
Mm-hmm.
Arms race, and it was like, yeah, we had like, you know, a race, actually, not a war, but
Right.
it was called a Cold War. So it was
Right.
a
So
war where nobody was
here
dying, but
competition and war kind of, it's unclear, right? It blurs the lines between the two, really.
No, I wouldn't say so, because what Kris said at the beginning, you know, this evil thing. And during Cold War, both sides saw each other as definitely something evil, you know.
Right.
But when companies compete, even if one goes bankrupt, you know, as a result of such fierce competition, there is no this such thing as, you know, I don't think that one company sees another as evil, because they're just doing whatever we are doing, the same thing. They're just trying to be better. That's it.
And they could, Masha, I think in certain circumstances they could, because there's this.
Well, if you break rules, I mean, if you do
Yeah,
something
exactly. If you break the
really...
rules, if you set dumping prices, for example, or you do something to strangle the other company because you're big. Let's say that you're Samsung, right? You're
This
big.
is still competition.
Well, still, but if you go below the production costs and you're actually losing, so you're bleeding, but you know that your enemy is bleeding faster, then I guess this is this could rightly be called a war, because both sides are losing. One is losing faster, one is losing slower, and then you just wait till the other guy bleeds out, and then you snatch the market share. So I think.
Yeah, we call it the war of attrition. But yeah, I think the same principle applies to business and to real war. But because of the context, I think it's competition with business. I think this is still business. I don't think that this is related to war at all. Like, you drive the prices so low that the other person has to go out of business. This is business. This is business. This is competition.
So you say context, you mean what kind of context? People are dying or not?
I don't think that it can be that simple, but because like you can have an information war, right? And again, it's like the other side is evil. We're trying to convince people that our truth is the real truth and their truth is not. And so again, it's back to like, it's not necessarily a competition with boundaries, right? There's a phrase in English, all is fair in love and war.
Yeah.
Basically, that love and war are outside of the rules, right?
Okay, yeah. So the rules, that's the
right. There aren't rules in a war with an enemy, and there are I mean, sure, there's international agreements and everything, but
yeah, there's a Geneva, convention and all that, but I think it applies sort of ex post. I mean, during the war, there are atrocities happening and no one is respecting these rules. I mean, later, of course, the court may decide whether rules were broken or not, but during the war, I don't think anyone is paying attention to it. Kris, I'd like to ask you, could there be a war between two people? Just two people, not nations, countries, or any other collective
groups.
What do you think? Two people?
We might use the word war to describe a conflict between two people, but in the real meaning of the word war, I don't think that it qualifies as a war,
because the scale is simply too small.
Yeah, like if we go back to like Greece, right? Like Troy, this battle, like with the what do you call it? Trojan horse and all of this, like this famous story, right? Like supposedly this war started because who was it? One leader wanted it was over a girl, right? So
yeah,
like two people competing over a girl, and the war started. But it wasn't a war until they sent armies and right? So it was just like a personal conflict until that point.
Yeah, that was a spark. Oh, it's interesting, What about Johnny Depp and Masha? What was the name?
Masha, I don't
know. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
I think they were at war.
No. It might have been like a media war or an information war, if we want to describe it like that. But like in the real meaning of war, I don't think there wasn't a battle. There's not many people from different that identify with different identities that are attacking each other, right? Physically.
Yeah, it's interesting, Yeah, physically. I mean, yeah, if there are two sides that really hate each other for whatever reason, it's not enough actually to call it a war, right? There need to be some actions.
But we can call them enemies.
Yeah, we can.
We don't have to have war to have an enemy.
It's interesting. That's interesting. I thought that enemies naturally provoke a war, but you're right. It could be enemies without actually waging a war.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great.
They might be your enemies and they might not even know that you
That you think that,
you,
yeah, exactly.
you put them in this group yourself, and you're just secretly scheming whatever you're scheming, and they are kind of.
But I
All
think
right,
it's really cool that we touched on this, like what Masha just said, kind of ties back to what we talked about with language, because there's a tendency, I mean, all of us do it, it's human nature to see things as black and white, right? So to look at a person and say friend or foe, another word for enemy, friend or enemy, right? And so it's not like that in real life, though. Like you have an enemy who's a little bit of an enemy, but somehow you had enough contact with them to know enough about them to know that you don't like something. So first you were a friend, an acquaintance, then you maybe became enemies a little bit. You still see each other sometimes. Like in real life, that's what happens, right? Just like with language learning, it's never that someone is 100% correct or 100% not correct, or someone 100% has an accent or doesn't have an accent, or so the black and white thinking.
Oh, I remember I have this video of yours where you called some native speakers absolutists. Yes, this is the term.
Absolutist.
Yeah, this is the only correct way of pronouncing clothes or something like this. I remember this video.
Yeah, there's or some people call them language purists.
Oh,
the language has to be pure. We have to, different languages, I feel like really place a lot of importance on correctness and accuracy to different levels, So like when I speak with Spanish speakers, most people I meet don't really care how you talk. And like they'll make a lot of mistakes, I'll make a lot of mistakes, and nobody really even cares that I'm making mistakes. It's like if you can understand the person,
come to France.
And in the States, it's similar. I think it's a little stricter, where people, like if you're not following the rules, that people kind of say, oh, that's strange, or whatever. It might stop them a little bit more. But when I lived in Russia, like the adherence to the following of the rules of the language was very strict, and like people will discuss this a lot, and will tell you like, oh, that's not right,
he's our enemy because
but this is interesting, because I'm trying to imagine myself listening to a foreigner speaking Polish language. I would be so happy that someone is even attempting to communicate in this horribly difficult language after all.
Yeah, well, so, I think that just some languages have, like, I call it language culture. How accepting are speakers of mistakes or alternate pronunciations, and a lot of times it's connected to like how many different accents are there within that language that the people usually see. So like in Italy, you go from one region to the next, and they have a new dialect, and they're saying things differently, and so they have to tolerate that more. In the States, again, we have like different regions with different accents, and then you have British speakers, and you've got Australian speakers, and everyone's doing it a little differently. So you have to be a little more tolerant. But with Russian, there's really been a lot of top-down control of the language, and that like it's good and bad, because it makes it easier to learn. It makes it easy, like, to have a standard.
There's only one correct way.
That makes it so much easier. Whereas like try learning Arabic, depends on which country or which city you're going to go in there, or Spanish, or some languages can be very diverse in their accents and dialects, whereas Russian is pretty central. And so that can be good and bad, right?
All right, great. Nice, Kris, that you made this connection, here between language and enemies.
Yeah.
And competitors. All right, great. I'm really happy, after what I heard from you, because you've delivered a really interesting insight, into enemy, competitor, and the war and competition in general. Very nice. I would like you right now to reflect a little bit on what happened, and how much do you think your language, your knowledge of language, helped you build your answer? In the sense that, do you think that the fact that you don't really encounter any technical obstacles, do you think that it helps you think, I don't know, faster, better?
Sorry, I'm trying to understand.
Or I agree.
Well, because these questions, this is what we do in our classes. You take our student, and he is confronted with such a question, and the people say that, oh my God, these questions are so difficult, and I cannot answer them because English is not my, I don't speak English very well. They think that is because of their proficiency in the second language. So what would you say? Because you're obviously very proficient. So answering such questions, how much does it depend on, how much of it is proficiency in language and kind of the way you think, the way you kind of connect things?
Okay. Yeah, thanks. I think that the more experience a person has with other languages, the more they understand how and why people do things differently, because language and culture are interconnected. So I think that a lot of times when it comes to questions about language learning, a lot of students or teachers too make it too difficult, when the answer, like we try to give a black and white answer because we think that that's what the question asks from us. But if we think about the whole experience of what it means to learn a language, then most specific questions come back to a bigger topic, like motivation to learn, right? Like so many questions that someone asks me come back to this. Or if someone asks about accent, I think that having experience with other languages definitely allows you to answer those kinds of questions better. Maybe
do you think? Yeah, but I'd like to ask: do you think that a low level English, let's say, produces or is likely to produce less nuanced answers?
Yes, you're limited by your ability to express yourself. However, touching on what Masha added to this question, or I guess it was your question, technology, right? So you can use technology to get around that today to a good extent, to a great extent. And so it doesn't have to limit you as much as it used to, but still you have to have some creativity to use the technology and to get what you need from that. So, yeah, you're, in a situation like this where we're just speaking and you don't have the chance to quickly go and pull something up on the computer or phone, then yes, I do think that there are limitations. If you can't express yourself clearly or with nuance, then it's going to be difficult to get across everything that you want to say. But a person can still understand you. You can give a simpler answer and a person can still get the general idea. If this discussion were in Russian right now, that's what I would have done. I would have tried to say the same thing that I said, but the language and the words would have been much simpler.
All right, great. But you think that would hurt your message?
It wouldn't have the nuance that maybe it would have had in English. All right.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's something that has been in my mind for I don't know, ever since I started teaching. And I noticed this relationship between, of course, linguistic skills and how, let's say, deep the answer goes, for sure. But there's also a link between, I don't know how to say that, but a level of a person. This is an interesting concept, So it's not necessarily the IQ, not necessarily, but the level of a person, and how nuanced the answer gets. Because I've got a lot of examples of people who are not really advanced linguistically, but intellectually they do great things, you know, and they are able to get really deep without actually you know, speaking in what we would call, I don't know, advanced way, you know.
Yeah, I think that's great that you brought that up, because there are different types of intelligence, right? And so the same thing with knowledge. Like, it's not black or white. We gain knowledge, it grows, it shrinks, we forget things. And so like I guess a better answer then would be that a person who has a lot of experience and has studied languages will be able to give a bigger answer, a better answer, even if their English is simple.
Yeah.
Because they already have the knowledge about that topic inside. So like, if we talked about mortgages or bank loans, right? Like, if we don't have a lot of experience in that, then we can't say a lot about it. But maybe this A2 English learner does
Yeah.
that all day, every day. So he might be able to give a more nuanced answer than.
Yeah,
right?
it's true.
So, and also, like, it's not only about native, non-native, making that comparison, because like, as a marketer, I use English to compete with other people who are marketing. I have to write advertising copy, I have to write scripts, I have to write words that will convince people. And so being able to use those words in a special way with special nuance is really important. And so it's not only like, you take just an average native speaker, they probably can't do it to that level that a person who has experience doing it can. And so it's not only about like a native speaker and a non-native speaker, because I know some non-native speakers, when they speak, they might make some mistakes, but they can write advertising copy in English better than just a regular native speaker.
Yeah,
And
that's interesting.
yeah. So there are other, I think maybe it's a good idea to touch here on the idea that English is just a tool. It's just an instrument, and we use it to do something. And that's, a lot of people get stuck there. They get stuck like, oh, I have to have the perfect tool. No, you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Just use the one you have and go do something with it. And perfect example, this guy in Turkey, his English is pretty good, but makes mistakes, but he writes advertising copy and he works for companies and he's fine. So,
you know, it leads me to one additional question here,
Yeah.
but again, it's about this link between the tool and the performance. In your opinion, is it possible to create a masterpiece in Microsoft Paint? If you know the tool, if you know the app.
Yeah.
All right.
I think so. But Paint is just the like medium, right? Just the tool.
Yeah.
So like
pretty primitive. I'm pretty basic, you know.
Right. So it's like, do you know what a haiku is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A Japanese poem. So it's like, you can write a haiku in English, but will it be better in Japanese? Like, English is just the tool that you use to write it. So if you use Paint, you'll have a Paint image. If you use English, you'll have an English haiku. If you want to make a different kind of image, you'll use a different tool. If you want to make a Japanese haiku, you'll use Japanese.
But you basically say that, you know, whatever I draw in Paint, I can't compare it to Corel Draw or Photoshop, because
it'll be a different.
Maybe you mean that the whichever tool you have doesn't matter. You have it now. You know, if you have Paint, just work in Paint. If you cannot work in whatever more sophisticated software, you just take what you have. And who said it? Do what you can with what you have where you are. Was it Roosevelt? No?
Maybe. Yeah, I remember this phrase. Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah, maybe
English is a tool. If it's not you have this tool. Even if it's not perfect, just go ahead and.
But you guys avoid answering the question. I mean, would you call
I would say no.
that a masterpiece?
No.
This pixelized.
I would.
You would. All right.
Yeah, I would say that you can have a Paint masterpiece, but it will always be a Paint masterpiece, and it will never be a
just
whatever
masterpiece.
whatever else master.
All
It can
right.
still be a masterpiece with all the other master. You go to the Louvre, you're going to not only see sculptures, you're going to see small paintings, big paintings, landscapes, realistic. You're going to see all kinds of different styles. And
But there is no such thing as paint masterpiece, you know? There's just masterpiece or not.
No, you just
think so?
Google that. You see what people do. I mean,
I like comparing the tools to generate images and languages as a tool. I would, maybe it's important to compare them in a different way where, you know, like CorelDRAW or a modern program would be like the Russian language, whereas Paint is like old church Slavonic. Like, yes, there are masterpieces that use that, but people don't use it today.
all right. All right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's interesting, you know, because again, we are talking about art. Yeah, art could reach the level of being timeless, and it doesn't matter which, you know, epoch it comes from. It could still count as a masterpiece, but or the same, like, you know, a piece of music, you know,
Yeah,
it's
and we
from
still
maybe the 70s, from the 80s, but we call them masterpieces, you know.
we still look at ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
Those are architectural masterpieces.
Yeah.
And that's a language.
Right. All right. Thanks. So, will I be fair to draw the conclusion that your A2 student could actually be an artist and let's say paint or express, you know, an opinion or deliver an answer that is, you know, impressive? Well, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. And with technology, why not?
Right.
Without
Great.
technology, you know, when they're very limited, I noticed that they have to get really, really creative, you know, and they sometimes arrive at, I don't know, much more interesting answers than people who are very proficient. Well, because for them, it's like on the surface. Okay, well, like just like Kris, you know, at the beginning, that's competitor. This, and this. That's what I would say to that. It took him, you know, 2 minutes. But when you don't have this language, you have to be, you know, maybe because of that, you start digging deeper, you know, looking at this concept from different sides. Maybe exactly because you don't have a perfect tool, let's say.
Yeah.
Or you only have paint to work with.
Great. Fine, guys, let's not open any more Pandora boxes here because I'm gonna have a problem to name the file, you know. What is the conversation about?
I'm fine to keep going if you want to, but if you guys are limited on time for the episode, I understand.
Yeah, I guess it could be a good point to put a full stop. Kris,
tell people how to find you. Yeah,
exactly. How do people can find you?
So you can find me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the social media, English with Kris Amerikos, and you can go to our website, krisamerikos.com.
All right, thanks. I would just like to shift to Masha, you know. Masha, what is
the
what is
sacramental
it that
phrase.
we need to... Yeah,
well,
I guess.
Thank you to everyone who, you know, stayed with us till this time, and thank you, Kris, for coming. And guys, we hope you leave us something, a comment, a voicemail, a coffee. Just
a
that
sign of life.
we're speaking to some kind of a void, you know. And please remember that anybody can come and be a guest on the show. Absolutely anybody. Doesn't matter how sharp your tool is.
Exactly. Get in touch with us just like Kris did. He wrote an email and here he is.
Yeah,
all
volunteered.
Right. To find you guys.
Right.
So
thanks a lot.
Yeah, this was another episode of the Thinking Out Loud podcast. Stay tuned for the next one. Thanks. Bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
You're a TikToker. Tell me about the experience. I was just thinking about maybe launching myself on TikTok, but
no.
because I'm too old. But I'm your age, Kris, so I'm not too old.
We just duplicate our content from Instagram, YouTube, and
but who's the father or the mother, the Instagram, and then you because there are people who are primarily on TikTok and then they copy that to Instagram.
YouTube. Our main platform is YouTube. YouTube.
All right, it's YouTube. All right. So you basically cut some clips, and that's how it works.
Yeah, we've got a team of people, so I just give it to the editor. She
right.
handles everything, and yeah.
And what is the like the concept of the school? You say that people can anytime, absolutely anytime start a conversation and have a speaking class.
Yeah, so we add or take away lessons depending on how many students are currently in the program at any time, so that there's enough lessons so that there's not too many students in each lesson. At one point we had 50 lessons per day. And right now we have about 5, 6, 7 lessons per day. So yeah, in addition to the scheduled lessons with the native teachers, we have like a community area where the students can chat with one another, like in a WhatsApp group. They can post like on Facebook, and they can also click a button and open up a room where anyone can join at any time. And so so all of these features together mean that almost 24/7 they can already use this tool, but also like we're adding more and more lessons constantly. So
and the speaking class, it's just okay.
No, what?
And the speaking class, it's like what? People just chat with the teacher? Yeah.
There's a different topic for every lesson. There are 4 types of lessons: vocabulary, speaking, grammar, and pronunciation. But every lesson is a speaking lesson. So it's vocabulary speaking, grammar speaking, pronunciation speaking, and speaking. And yeah, you're just in a Zoom conversation. Teacher is teaching. We go to breakout rooms in small groups, practice speaking there, come back to the main room. Just a typical Zoom kind of lesson. We were doing that before COVID, when not everybody was using Zoom, but now everybody uses Zoom.
Tell me and tell us, are you afraid of AI, of what's happening? You're not. You think it won't replace let's say interhuman conversations?
AI will not replace you. A human using AI will replace you.
All right. Sounds like a slogan.
So it sounds like we must start using AI, so that we are a human plus AI. So we need to be those humans.
In what way could I be like, AI enhanced? I mean, as let's say host of a conversation class. I mean,
so I use AI for almost everything I do in my business now. I use it every day, hours and hours every day. For a conversation class, you could generate your academic program, like your list of topics that you're going to teach. Then for each lesson, you could generate a lesson plan. Then you could generate target vocabulary and have a vocabulary list. And then you could just copy and paste all of that stuff into a document, and everything would be organized. You'd have speaking points for the entire lesson. You could even tell it to give you timing, so you know how long you're supposed to talk about each thing, and then how long the students are supposed to respond. You could generate sample questions that you want to ask them. Like I do SEO research, then put keywords in, and it'll generate structure, like a document that gives me the structure of the blog, so that'll be SEO optimized. Then I tell it to write the blog for me using target keywords, writes a blog post for me. I write YouTube scripts, tags, descriptions. I just enter it one time and then give that to the people who need it, and then they do it. And so like you can just, it'll generate business ideas for you. Like I put in how much my company is making, how many different employees, their roles, and then I put like how much revenue comes from different advertising campaigns, and then it will analyze it for me and tell me we need to optimize this part or this part.
Wow, that is, but that's totally incredible. But I think, you know, I don't know how it works, but I guess it's right now profitable because not everyone is using it, not yet. But once everybody starts using it, I mean, you know, the situation will kind of level out.
I don't think of it like that. I think of it more like the internet. Like it's not like the internet became like it phased out or something. Like this is just a tool that everyone will have access to. AI is just going to be built into everything else that you're using. Like it's already getting to that point, and using the AI directly. I mean, you're going to start seeing it more in physical products. You're going to start seeing it more in everywhere. Like you're going to go to a McDonald's that's going to be run by one person.
Yeah, I pretty much believe this is where it's going.
And so like that's coming. So just learn how to use AI, and learning, and like people maybe who are listening think that AI is difficult to use or something. It's exactly the same as searching on Google. Remember the first time that you went to search on Google to find information, and then you had to learn, it was like a special skill that you had to develop, how to search on Google. And like, if I write these words, will it give me the thing that I want? Same thing with AI, just the next level. That's all it is. It's just the next level of Google search.
Yeah. Wow, that is amazing. You know, we are often talking about AI, Masha, aren't we?
Oh yeah.
Because you're afraid of it.
I wouldn't use this word, but now I understand why it was so easy to set up a meeting with Kris. You know, he's like, I can meet you guys anytime. I'm like, isn't he supposed to be super busy, you know? But of course he has AI and everything for him. Are you sure it's Kris, real Kris, or not some, you know, deep fake?
Now there's actually AI assistants that'll do that. You connect them to your messenger on Facebook or your email, and it will find the right time in your calendar and book people in for you and move things in your calendar for you. There's all kinds of AIs. For video editing, maybe you guys have heard about Descript. It's an AI program where instead of the traditional video editing where you cut a piece and move things, and instead what it does is you add the video file, it automatically generates all of the text that was spoken, and it's 99% correct. And I've tried it with hour-long videos. And
you talk about the subtitles basically to
every word that was spoken. It's the transcript.
Yeah.
And so now what you can do inside of Descript's video editor is you can edit the video by the words. So you go in there and you say,
that's so cool.
You say, like, oh, I said the wrong, like I misspoke in this sentence, so I'm going to take out that word. And then what you can also do is you can program it so that it has your voice. So instead of saying cat, I wanted to say dog. In the recording, I said cat, but in Descript, I'm going to delete cat and write dog. And now when you listen to the audio, in my voice, it says,
oh, shit.
I wish I had known about it last. I wanted you to correct something in that episode because I used the wrong, just made a stupid mistake, and I wanted him to correct it. And I was like, okay, well, re-record it and send it to me.
Okay, I said, but you know, the thing is that I believe that if AI generates the word using your voice, it's pretty much it sounds natural, right? It's not like suddenly there's a cut and it's like dog instead of cat, you know.
No. It sounds really natural. And Descript is just one of like 50 or 60 different programs that now you give them like a 10-20 minute sample of your voice.
Sorry, the name is Descript. Sorry, the name is what?
Descript.
Descript is the one that I've been talking about right now.
Oh my goodness.
And so yeah, you load up an example of your voice and it creates an AI version of your voice. It sounds very similar. And there are other ones that do the same, not the video editing by words, that's unique to Descript, but other ones that generate the AI voice for you, and it sounds.
But wait, Kris, I mean, you know, where this is heading is definitely some sort of perfect world, right?
Yeah, where does a human come in? You said a human plus AI. Where does a human come in, you know? Because if in a couple of months we can have AI, we can feed AI all episodes of our podcast and tell it, just record a podcast. There will be Jendrik's voice and Masha's voice and just have a conversation.
Yes, you can
And
do
some
that.
kind of, artificial guest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
an
you can do that
artificial.
now. You can do that
Oh,
now.
now you see, now I'm a little bit too late,
But you see,
behind.
that's the cool part of it, is that
Oh, that's the cool part.
this is the cool part, that the more that AI does, the more valuable it becomes to be a human and to do the human things.
We
And
can only
so
hope for that.
that's
So,
why
Masha, the episode where you made a mistake, is
It's
actually
become
going to be more valuable.
iconic,
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so I mean, what we see like in marketing is that there's a trend already towards community and connection. Community and connection are going to be the most the best values for product, for companies. They need to have community and connection, and the things that they used to do won't work so much anymore because AI can just do it fast, so everyone can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've got an idea, Masha. We just stay humans, we and totally old school, and one day we'll be in the avant-garde again.
Yeah.
Once
Dinosaur.
Dinosaurs, but once this whole wave
Now
of
dinosaur, you see, if
AI
somebody saw a
generated
dinosaur.
perfect.
So someday,
Yes.
you think someday people will pay insane amount of money just to speak to a human being for 30 minutes?
People already do that.
Yeah, they do.
I
Of
mean,
course they do.
Well, not insane amount of money.
I guess
but-
it depends what you think insane amount of money is, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Like
You're right.
we sell like a 90-day package where we have some teammates setting something up for people in their business, but I have like 8 calls with the business owner. And those are 1-hour calls, so 8 hours. This costs $30,000, between 30,000
Wow.
and 50,000.
Oh my goodness.
So
That's sick,
I would call that insane. Yeah.
so like it's not completely insane, but it's like it makes sense when you're in a business, right?
Mhm.
That's the thing, is like if you can connect that, like I spend 30, I get back 60, then I'll do that all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right.
wow, it's amazing, all right, well, it's really interesting. We could actually make another episode, talking only about that. But then again, it's something that I don't know if our listeners are interested in, just like we are. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's interesting. So, Kris, you stay. No, wait a second. You said that you left the teaching business or the linguistic whatever.
No, so we have a few websites where we sell English programs.
All right.
We have a Russian website where we teach Russian, and we have a YouTube channel for that. We have, we do coaching for teachers who want to start an online business, who are, like under 5,000 a month in their business or just trying to get started. And then we have this marketing and growth agency where we work with established businesses to grow their business.
All right.
So like we have a lot of different directions in the company, but the main focus is definitely education. Most of the people I work with are teaching English or other languages or online education. So yeah, I still teach, I still make some videos. I still, I like it. I love teaching English.
Because you're the brand. You're the face of the brand.
I'm moving that away. Like I've put other people's faces there now, and other people are making videos and stuff, but I like it. So like when I get the chance, I love talking about it and I love doing it. But I just know
you also know a lot about it.
I just know that, in a company or in a business, there has to be the person who's pushing things forward from the top. And if I'm spending all my time making videos or teaching lessons, then I'm not able to reach more people. And when I'm pushing to reach more people, I can reach millions of people. When I'm teaching one lesson, I'm not. So this is the trade-off that I had to face at some point,
Wow. Right. Fine. Masha, as far as I know, we meet Dima, right? Shortly. Fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kris,
cool.
thanks a lot. It's been a pleasure, talking to you, and you came out of nowhere because and we should definitely reconnect one day.
Yeah. Do you have any other place to contact you guys? I added Masha on Facebook.
Oh,
right.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. Are you on Twitter actually?
Yeah, I never.
Oh, you're not using it. You're not using it. It's a dead
Like all
account.
the social stuff I gave to somebody else. So, like,
All right.
if email's good, we can keep it there. I mean,
Yeah,
WhatsApp,
emails fine. Email is fine.
Facebook Messenger, all that stuff.
All right. Don't forget to mention this podcast somewhere so that you beat Hugh Deller, who is right now, let me tell you, who's approaching 100 place, 100 place, look at this. Let me check that, it's actually, it's 95. It's 95.
This episode will be out next Wednesday, right? Yeah,
I guess Wednesday. Because we don't have any queued. Yeah.
Would it be okay for you to send me the video file and for me to like cut a piece from here for my channel?
Sure. I mean, I say okay, Masha. I don't know about you
no
because
problem.
you may be worried about
video,
your makeup
yes?
or something.
Yeah. I'll just cut like
I just been to the hairdressers.
Cut some small pieces and and then I'll link back to you guys in the description and everything.
Right. But remember, Masha, that once you had the
once I let you, cut pictures, and you chose the worst possible picture.
No,
of
I'm
me,
not talking. No,
of course. I
I'm
hope
not talking about
other
this,
people.
but I asked you about the screenshot from the conversation with Hugh, and there was just Hugh. So
yeah,
maybe there's also
unfortunately,
Kris right now, and not the three of us.
Yeah, the three of you is a very small. The other, I forgot again. When I record, I only have the main speaker.
Oh, you didn't record you didn't record both?
No, I recorded everything. It's just when I record, my settings are so the person who is speaking has the screen.
Right.
So that you will not have the situation when there are three of us.
I will do it.
In the files on Zoom, there should be multiple files, and so there should be like a speaker screen, and there should be like a group screen file.
And the files, I only get two files. I get the audio and video.
Okay. Well, whatever you have,
I'm sure your AI will figure it out.
Yeah, it will actually rebuild my face, your face.
My AI for that tool is Vasilina, living in Lviv.
Oh, in Lviv.
All right.
Oh, you can say Lviv. Say it again.
Lviv.
Oh my God, I've never heard a foreigner being able to say Lviv. Lviv.
This is the dark L.
Let's say Lviv, something like that.
It's the soft L. Spanish has it, French has it, Italian has it. So.
Yeah, but I've never heard an American being able to do that.
Oh,
cool. Cool.
All right,
Thank you,
guys. Great. Kris, once
thank
again,
you so much for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you so for your time. Yeah.
All right. Have a great day, guys.
Have a great day.
We'll
talk again soon. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Masha, we stay